what I do is about 10 minutes of kind of pertinent things that's going on in the industry right now, some of the updates that are happening. Always focus on rates. I like watching rates on a weekly basis to see if they're going up, going down, what's going on. And then we get into Q&A to make sure we answer questions for you, right? This is really about a coaching call for your benefit. If you want, I'll stop the recording and we'll go off the recording. So it's only this group here. You can also additionally DM me privately and chat with me and say, hey, I got a question about this, and I'll talk about it in more of a neutral form, right? So if you don't want to say, hey, Randy, I can't get myself out of bed every day. I just need motivation. What do I do? You could private message me that, and then I could say, hey, this is a question that came in. We could talk about it, but I'm still helping you, but not singling you out, right? But so we've got a couple levels here. We can go off recording, number one. So it's just this group. Because I do post some of this stuff later. So, be aware of that from a coaching perspective. And then you could also privately DM me, and then we can have a private conversation that I can protect your identity and answer the question, even if you're just a little embarrassed or whatever it may be. Right. So hopefully that is valuable for everybody. And, that's really what we want to focus on today. So, I think the big thing that is going on right now is we're seeing some rates softening, right? Rates have come down now. We peaked over 8%. I use a little app that is called Mortgage News Daily. It's a little kind of I don't know if you can see that. It's pretty shiny. Mortgage News Daily is a little app that shows national trends for mortgages. They're going to be superseded by your local, if you're in Sacramento or in LA or somewhere else, you're going to have to look at that a little differently. But what I like doing is it kind of gives me an overview of just what's been going on in the particular market. And they just did an update on this thing, which makes it actually kind of hard to read. Did you look at this today, Kenny? Did you look at the rates?
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven, that's down significantly. Did you get an update on your app too? Did you get a weird look on it?
My phone updated, but this app looks the same to me.
Okay, cool. I might have just broke something somewhere. So I'm going to shut this particular thing and reopen it and see what it does this time. Oh, there it worked. Yeah, it was just broken the way it opened up. So 7.11. I mean, we're almost in the sixes, folks. The sixes are going to inspire a lot of people mentally to understand what's going on. Here's what's important for you that I want you to understand. I'm not giving you the exact math, but it's going to be accurate enough to follow with me, right? If the home is $500,000 and the rates are at 8%, or let's just say they're at 7.11 now, right? That house value is 500 grand. If the rates went down to 5% tomorrow, or 5.5% tomorrow, or whatever that was significant enough to get all these buyers and sellers off the fence, that $500,000 house is now going to be 540, 550, 565. Do you understand? It's just supply and demand. So when you look at this, the absolute best time to buy is now if you're looking at that particular piece. And we've been talking a lot about marry the house, date the rate. That's all cool. I've missaid that about 10 times. It's very embarrassing. But the bottom line is, we can do those kind of things. We could look at short term and then getting into a posture of just refinancing later, maybe even doing ARM loans right now are very, very popular, right? A 3-1, a 5-1 ARM with no prepayment penalty or a minimum prepayment penalty is a great solution for somebody who wants to wait for the rates to drop and get these prices right now. We just had a mini storage guy that we were talking to that's doing a lot of seller financing because a lot of mini storages are held outright. They're not looking at, there's different reasons for selling. But what I really loved that was kind of creative and true is he says, hey, we can either give you a pre-COVID price, but we need pre-COVID interest rates on a seller carry, right? Which are 3.5%, 4%, 5% in commercial. Or we could give you post-COVID price, but post-COVID interest rates, right? So you got to have kind of one or two of those things. And so what I love about that is it's going to be an opportunity to have conversations with people that say, hey, if you want to get your price now, we just got to look at maybe a interest rate that is back in the past. Right. So I don't know if you're having those kind of situations with people, but for me, I think that's it's really a telltale sign election year, again, this is me talking, but election year, regardless of the side of the fence you're on, election years are going to have impact in the housing development or the housing industry. They're going to probably lower rates, and they want to inspire growth. They don't want to have negative news. It doesn't matter who's in office, but whoever's in office doesn't want the gas prices to be crazy. They don't want the housing market to be in shambles. Right. So I believe they're going to lower rates through 2024. Just my crystal ball. There's a lot of indicators for that as well, and the knowledgeable piece of the spectrum. So for us getting back into the sixes, it's going to be a big mental difference between an 8 and a 6 conversation with buyers and sellers. Right. So I want to talk about being prepared for that. I think that's really what's going on now. It's a little bit of a survival mode right now in this posture of the market, and being prepared for what's coming, which especially in 2024, we're going to see, barring some kind of crazy things outside of this normal, transition. If we look at it in the market transitioning, we're going to be in a place to where there's going to be a great opportunity. Sellers are finally going to start letting go and easing up on that. We're in a middle market. If you look at a buyer's market being 4 months on the market or longer, right? Buyer's market. And seller's market, 4 months on the market or lower. Really, it's kind of, we're in the middle ground. It's 4 to 6 months. So when you get to 4 months, it starts to become a buyer's market. And when you reach 6 months, it's a solid buyer's market, 6 months of inventory. And we're in most places ranging in that 2, 3, 4 month range still. And it's been that way, even though we have low inventory, all these things. Does anybody have anything in their market that's way out of that? That's out of, say, 2.5 to 4 months of inventory? Anybody have anything less or more than that? So I'm suspecting that everybody's kind of in that envelope. Yes, Trevor.
We do, if it's priced right. I mean, it can easily be 1 month.
Yeah, but we're talking about a specific property. I'm talking about the average.
Oh, it is if they're pricing it right. But yes, it is.
Yeah, but again, that's why we say average, right? So if they could be the bride and not the bridesmaid, that makes them stand out as a great benefit, a great deal and all that. But as you look at the market, we're looking at the average is about 2.5 to 3.5 months of inventory.
Yeah.
Right. So that's getting us in that neutral playing field again. Really, it's not a buyer market, really not a seller market, but it's a mixed up market, honestly.
Yep.
The biggest challenge I have, and I know it sounds just like easy for coaches to say mindset, but that's really what I'm seeing is agents are more affected by the mindset of what's going on in the industry and in the world of real estate than it is that's actually happening. Right. So if you don't have any transactions right now, it absolutely is the market that's impacting you. But let's look at our own businesses and see what we can do in that business to live at a level 10 for opportunity. And what, sometimes we know we should be doing in there, right? There's a group coaching call, so it's different than me being on one-on-one with you. So I want to be understanding of that. Right. The other piece of this is FHA just raised limits significantly in many areas. That's a big deal. And now another thing they did to inspire, you're going to see more of this in the coming election year. I'm just telling you right now. They're making it easier for people to buy fourplexes now. You can put 5% down with a fourplex, not a commercial loan package anymore if it's multifamily, if you live in it. So there's a caveat to that. You got to live in it. We're talking about $1 million fourplexes you can finance now for 5% down. And if you get paid 3%, you're getting into $1 million complex for 2% if you're an agent, mathematically. Right? There's some other costs and some different things that are involved in that. But look at the opportunities there for your investor clients, buyer clients, contractor clients. Maybe even first-time home buyers are starting to look at this duplex, threeplex, fourplex equation as a possibility. All right, so I think those create opportunities that we didn't have before again. But like what I'm going to wrap up with the coaching perspective, I'm going to get a Q&A and answer questions specifically. When we look at this market, this is a market that's going to discipline the agents that don't discipline themselves. I've said that before. It sounds totally coachy cliche again, but it's so true. If you can't discipline yourself in this market, the market is going to jurisdict what's going on in your life and your business. So I'm just begging you to spend at least 1 hour a day of active prospecting, not returning a phone call, not thinking about a new farm you want to work in, but actively prospecting in your business 1 hour a day right now is minimum. That's just survival. And then as you're ramping your business up, you're going to see that differently. I've shared this story before, and it's painfully clear. I take on a new coaching client that's doing 8 transactions a year, wants to get to 20. That's just, that's their dream in real estate life. And I'm not making fun of them because a lot of you on this call have exceeded that. But that's their goal, from 8 to 20. And then I got another guy that's doing 1,000 transactions a year, and he's trying to get balance, right? So totally different coaching. But guess what? The guy that's doing 8 transactions a year, 0 hours prospecting. The guy that's doing 1,000 transactions a year, you'd think that'd be the 0 prospecting, right? He's just running this big engine, 3 hours a day of prospecting. And I said, that's amazing. I mean, how do you do it? And he goes, how would you not do it? Right? It didn't even register with him. And he just said, to do this level, I have to stay engaged with my clients in a prospecting behavior for 3 hours a day. And he goes, I wish I could do 4 or 5. I mean, imagine what we do if I had 4 or 5 hours to stay on the call. And then on the other side, I got a guy doing 8 deals a year. That's like, how am I going to find the time for 3 hours a day? Or what, are you kidding me? And I'm like, let's start with 15 minutes and we'll build up from that with some discipline and some consistency. Hopefully this strikes a chord with some of you guys and ladies, right? I see you laughing now, but it literally, it's reality, right? We have to be educating our clients so we could become the expert. And so they know, like, and trust us. That is the epitome of a real estate relationship, right? And if anybody disagrees, I'm happy to fight with you over it, but I'm trying to help, right? So this numbers business can become part of your identity within your real estate space. If you just focus on, hey, I'm going to connect with 20 people a week is a great goal. I work with some of my clients. They want to have 20 connection calls a week, and they take a real important, posture in having a long, deep conversation with people. So they, are building that know, like, trust. You can make it where you're doing an hour a day and forget about the metrics. Just do a discipline of one thing a day. It's like the gym, right? Whatever fits your lifestyle. And you don't have to tell me, but I know everybody's got a story. You don't understand, Randy. I got kids. You don't understand, Randy. I got a car with only 3 wheels. You don't understand, Randy. I live in a different area. You don't understand, Randy. Things are different in Nevada, right? Actually, Fallon, Nevada, where Hadley is, probably things are different, but there's still some basics that we're talking about, right? I don't know if you guys list cactuses out there. What do you sell out there anyway?
Bro, we sell your top flights that I find in the desert.
Oh, wow. Shots fired. He's throwing golf jokes at me just like right out of the gate. All right. I have the power of the mute. I have the power of all kinds of stuff on your punk ass. But so, here's the best advice I can give you. Number one, you're here. Thank you. If you're here, you're open, you're looking at coaching, and you're looking at opportunities that we can move the needle in your businesses. And so thank you for that. But being aware of this is the mindset component is so valuable, because I'm going to put somebody on the spot right now, right, on purpose. And if you've been with me a long time, you'll know why. But Treva, would you mind coming off?
I had a feeling it was going to be me.
I love you, Treva. You're amazing. I think you might not know the answers why I kind of picked on you. But Treva, how's the market?
Hey, Randy, when you say how's the market, specifically, what are you speaking about?
Oh, great question. The real estate market. Well, how is it? How's it going?
Are you speaking of rates, or are you speaking of?
You have been in my program, so I'm not calling on you anymore. You did good. You're going down the question direction, but I'm going to do it again. And Kyler, give me your best answer of what you think you would say in the supermarket. Kyler, hey man, I see you're a real estate agent. You've been doing this a while. How's the real estate market? You're on mute. You're on mute, by the way. And Trevor, thank you. I'm going to get back to you in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, do you mean like locally or nationally?
Yeah. In Albany, how's the real estate market?
Yeah, I mean, the market is what it is. Rates are higher, so there's a little bit less buyer demand, but there's also less inventory. So there's some things going on. What are your plans? Like, why are you curious?
Yeah, we've been on the fence for a while. I'm just wondering if it's a good time to get in the real estate market.
Do you own a home now or
I don't.
you don't? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I always say the best time to buy a home is when you can afford it. Like what's your hesitation, I guess? Like, why do you want to know? Like, what dictates a good market to you and a bad market?
Yeah, good question. I think the market's going to crash, and I think we're heading to a recession, and I think the prices are going to come way down.
Why do you think that?
It's just the news. Everybody's saying that.
Everyone's saying it.
Everybody.
So what we're seeing, I mean, we're short inventory, like a few million homes in the US, and like, there's not a lot of inventory in our area if you've been on Zillow or on the internet looking around. And I
I
don't think
usually go
that's-
to randybird.com. I don't go on Zillow.
I don't think that's going to get better anytime soon, right?
Okay.
And if rates go down this next year, a couple points, like they're saying 1 to 2 points, like as soon as those rates go down, there's a bunch of pent up demand of people that are right on the cusp that can't quite get into homes because it's stretching them financially. So as soon as those rates come down and those buyers enter the market, we're going to see the market slowly creep up again.
Yeah, good job. So pause. First of all, you identified who I was and stuff, which is where I was going, right? So in this exchange, am I buyer seller?
Your buyer.
Yeah, buyer. So the answer to my question is staying curiosity. Trevor did a great job with it. Kyler got to it as well. But when somebody asks you, how is the market? Like Melissa asked me, how is the market? So I'm a real estate agent. You saw me somewhere and you asked me how the market is.
Randy, how's the market?
Oh, you know what, Melissa? It totally depends. Are you a buyer, seller, renter, or investor?
Seller.
Okay, I just compartmentalized all my focus in one direction. I'm not talking about what the problems the buyers are having. I don't care about the investors. I don't care about renters. I'm focused completely on her now because the answers are different, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're a buyer, that's a different language conversation to them than it is a seller. You understand? Because the seller's probably going to get more for their home in the next year to 2 years. So it's more like a motivational question to timing. Or a buyer, if they don't buy right now, I think they might lose that opportunity in the near future. Because if they could barely afford 500 grand, what's it going to be at 550 or 525? It's going to happen, right? It's just a matter of when it's going to happen, right? So remember this little script. Well, it depends. Are you a buyer, seller, renter, investor? And then you could really hone in on that specific question. And if not, you've got to ask a lot of questions to try and get there, right? But it pauses you just a little bit to gather yourself when somebody asks you that question. And then they're going to answer it in what they're looking for. And I've had people say, well, I'm an investor, but I'm also a buyer. Okay, two different answers, but I'm gonna help you with those answers, right? Does anybody need any clarification on what the answer would be for buyer, seller, investor, renter? Any direction or any help? Or you feel good about that? Okay, cool. Right? So again, now you can develop this script about just a buyer that is much more laser focused instead of a shotgun. And Kyler, like in your benefit, you're great with the language and stuff. Now you could really get into the needs analysis very quickly with people.
Right.
Instead of asking them, well, when do you think you'll be able to do this? Or can you afford it? Whatever the conversations are, right?
Right.
And then we can add relevance and timelines to it. It's like, hey, Kyler, you as a buyer, have you talked to a lender yet? Because that's such a critical step right now. It costs you nothing. They might run a little soft credit check or something. But if you haven't done this component, man, you're just, you're going the wrong direction. Are you willing to do that? Have you done that yet?
Yeah, because you have to have a starting point.
Yeah. And also it's a level of commitment too, right? We're going to talk a lot about buyer broker agreement and buyer agency and buyer representation agreements, because I'm already starting to see stuff on the MLS at 0. I don't know if y'all are seeing it yet in your particular markets, but we're already starting to see stuff at 0. So that means you have to negotiate your own commission to a buyer like you used to a listing. It's just what's coming. It's already here. It has nothing to do with lawsuits now. The MLSs are doing it internally to get ahead of this and to get out of the liability from NAR. So if you haven't seen it yet, I promise you it's coming. RMLS in Oregon just put out the thing, which RMLS is all over the area in LA and everything else. They just put out the thing saying there's now a 0 commission thing and we're having a training on it, right? It's just everybody's going to be doing it. So if you're not watching that, and by the way, it's going to be hard to even find that in the future. right? It's part of these agreements is the agents can't look for what commissions are in the MLS and use that as a search criteria. And again, this is public, this is recorded. I'm in a place of neutrality. Regardless how you feel about this, this is what's coming. We're going to have to be able to call the seller agents and ask them what the commission offered is and negotiate that sometimes prior to be offers. You have to negotiate prior to the offer. So you're negotiating between buyer's agent and seller's agent, not seller and buyer. Right? And then once we get over that component, we have something in writing, then we can submit offers. That takes time. So some of these things are going to take moments of your understanding and skill set to act a little differently with writing offers and doing things that we used to do. All right. Any questions on that? And if not, we'll go to Q&A. What do you have that I can help with? I know a couple of you messaged me a few things you were having struggles with. I know Hadley's looking at scaling an assistant. He's on the phone right now, so he had some questions about that. But what Q&A do you have for me? What can I help you with?
Hey, Randy.
Yes.
This is Janelle. I
Janelle.
was just wondering, if when we get down to negotiating the buyer's agent commission, is it possible to ask for a seller credit to pay the buyer agent? Is there a way to kind of keep the lender out of that? Do you understand what I'm
I
asking?
totally understand what you're saying.
Okay, cool.
And you're saying all the right things because we're all thinking the same thing. The reality is, and again, I'm not saying this just for compliance because this is, it might be a public broadcast. This is truly how I feel. Is if we have even a thought in our head that we might need to let the lender know or not, we need to let the lender know, right? Because ultimately that is the right way to do it. It's the most ethical, and it also keeps you out of a prison cell. So, but the point in this conversation is everything's negotiable, period, end of story. It's always been negotiable. It's been, I even hate to use the word fixed, but it's been kind of a fixed way of doing business in the past, because that's the argument for this whole freaking lawsuit that I don't agree with. But the reality is we're getting away from that, where anything's negotiable. You're just going to have to negotiate in a different way, where before it was the clear cooperation policy said that the MLSs had to do a certain thing and they had the lobbying power from NAR. And that's why that whole thing's kind of crumbling right now. And companies are leaving NAR, in droves. And I think that that's going to impact them. The reality is nothing's ever changed negotiation wise. The only thing that's changing is the way that the seller had to pay for the buyer's commission in the past to cooperate, to have clear cooperation into the MLS. That's changing. It's changed, right? If it hasn't changed overnight, it will.
Can I say something?
Yes, Kyler.
I feel like if listing agents are doing a good job of explaining co-op and the reason it's important, and it's still their decision, but hey man, there's 9 other homes in your neighborhood. Let's take a look at them on the MLS. They're all offering 2%, 2.5%. Do you think if there's an agent representing a buyer, he's going to want to show your home over these 8 or 9 others that are priced the same, not offering a commission?
Yeah. Although true as that is the problem. We're not going to be able to say those things in the future. All right. We've done that in the past. And honestly, agents have been like, I'm free. As a buyer's agent, you don't pay shit for me. I'm free.
Mm.
And we've all said it. And if you've never said that, I call BS if you've been in this business over a few years, right? And or at least implied it or lent it out there, right? Honestly, 10 years ago, I remember going, why would you talk to the seller's agent? I'm free, right? You get me, you pay nothing as a buyer. That's just reality. And that's a lot of the reason this has come down like it has. So in the future, Kyler, to answer your question, maybe even with more of a question, is it's going to be about sharpening our buyers' representation and our buyers' sales agreements like a listing agreement. It's going to have to be a 25-page value proposition agreement like a listing agreement is. What your marketing is, what's your thing, what is the value you're bringing to the buyer. On the other side of the coin, the sellers gets easier, in my opinion. You want to do a role play real quick, Kyler?
Sure.
Hey, you're the seller and I'm at your house and I'm saying, listen, everything looks good. We're ready to go. I've shown you all my credentials. 500,000 is a great starting point. And I'd like to talk commission with you if it'd be okay.
Yeah.
Kyler, my commission is 3%. You might have heard 4, 5, 6, 10, 12. I don't know what you've heard, but my commission, my professional fee is 3%. And now we need to talk about what you want to pay the buyer's agents to show the houses if you want to. It's from 0 to infinity.
Okay.
Now I'm willing and able to guide you in this conversation. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I'm supporting you properly. What is in your mind as a number to pay to the other agents that are going to show and represent the buyers?
Well, I heard we don't have to pay them anymore.
Yeah, that's correct. It's 0 if you want it to be 0. And it will be on the MLS. I just want you to understand that the other agents will not be incentivized to take their clients to those houses because there is no commission offered. So one of two things, they're either going to avoid your listing, which is not appropriate, or they're going to negotiate commissions up front. I just want to prepare you for that conversation. Are you willing to pay anything to the buyer that brings a client to this house?
Well, why couldn't you just represent them and us?
Absolutely, I can. I just want you to understand that it may be limiting in what I can do for you exposure wise, but I'm 100% able, willing, and ready to do so.
Gotcha.
Okay. So basically, we're going to have to tell the buyers because it's on the MLS. So when they reach out to me and say, hey, I noticed that it's 0, what is the commission? I have to tell them that it's 0 and they have to negotiate that with their buyer. It's completely okay. But I want to make sure you understand everything so you can make a good, educated decision. Because
Right.
number one, most important thing here is selling your home. Would you agree?
Right.
So, right. So in my opinion, I mean, those are going to be easier to tell sellers that I get 3%. What do you want to pay the other side? It's from 0 to whatever you like. I can tell you customary in the MLS right now is 2.5%. That's customary. I'm already seeing 2s. I'm already seeing a lot of wonky things. Again, this is just my opinions, my day, my show. I'm seeing agents start taking them at 5 and listing them in the MLS at 2 or 1.5. I think that's a little wonky. You could do it. Everything's negotiable. You have to do some disclaimers in most of the MLSs about split commissions, variable commissions and stuff, but it's all possible. Very popular was 6% listing, 2.5 to the MLS, or 5.5 listing, 2.5 to the MLS for the buyer's agents, right? Obviously the 5.5 split, or 5 split, 2.5, 2.5 is probably customary as we would look at it that way, but it's absolutely all negotiable. Always been. 20 years ago, we were charging 6%, putting it on the MLS at 2.5% because we had a significant marketing campaign that we had to fund. And we
Right.
told people up front that.
I think telling the sellers too, like explaining and showing an example of like, hey, when the buyers get cold feet, you don't want them to call me, who's representing you as a seller. You want them to call someone that they know and trust that's going to keep them in that deal, as opposed to like they call me and they're like, hey, cold feet, they don't trust me, they can back out. Whereas if they have a buyer's agent that keeps it all together, like that's going to get the deal done. That's going to get your house
Yeah,
sold.
logically, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
That it's all going to be about education is the next phase of this. It's going to be about education, educating the client to understand what this is going on. But you're right. Some sellers have only heard the cool part for them, which is, yeah, I don't have to pay a buyer's agent anymore.
Right.
Right. So we've got to educate the gap. All right. Any burning questions before we kind of wrap up? I appreciate the crowd here today. I appreciate the support. We're going to do it every week. And I ideally invite somebody that might need it, invite somebody that's free. You know, there's no price to be here. But number 2 is think about what you could bring to the call that adds value to not only you from hearing maybe from my perspective, but the other people on the call will get value from this and in the future as we catalog these things. Cool.
Thanks.
All right. I appreciate you guys. I know Hadley, you had a question, but I'll get to you when you're done with your phone call. All right, you guys have a great day. I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Reach out to me independently if you have something you need. I'm here to support you.
Thanks, Randy.
Okay, you guys, have a
Randy.
great day. Happy Monday.
Thank you.
All right, cheers, everybody.